In this video, I do want to make a few fixes on the character. And the first thing is going to be the normal map. You could see that the lower lid here look like he has makeup on. So that is being caused by the normal map. So I have to go back to Substance Painter and fix that. Another thing is I want to make the lips wetter. So I want to add some shininess to this. Also some areas on the face like the nose, I want it to have a little shininess, and like the inner corner of the eye where I want it to look a little wetter. I'm gonna do that in Substance Painter. So I'm gonna go back to Substance Painter here. And first thing that I want to deal with is going to be the normal map, right? So I'm gonna go to my texture set where I have it for my head and arms for my head area. And I'm going to go create a brand new fill layer. And I'm just going to go ahead and call this one normal fix. And another important thing is for the drop down arrow here, instead of base color, this is very, very important, this part right there, we have to set it to normal. And then we have to, for our layer here, we have to put in our normal map that we have for our character on this slot right there, okay? And if you don't know the name of your normal map, you could go to your texture set settings and go to your normal. And for mine, it's called MB face body. So I'm gonna go over to my normal right here, to my properties, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and find that name. So I'm gonna type in MB. So there it is. This is gonna be it. So plug that in right there. And so yeah, make sure that you have plugged that in. All right, for your normal map should go there onto the properties section, right? And next up is make sure, this is very important also, that you set this instead of this here. We have to set it to normal. And then we have to right click and add paint. And then once again, set this to normal. All right, good. And last but not least is we have to go to the texture set settings, and we have to set the normal mixing. Instead of combine, we have to set it to replace. Okay, now we go back to our layers and onto the paint here. I have my symmetry turned on. I'm gonna bring down my brush size. All right, and make sure that while you're on your paint that you set this, the only thing that should be turned on your properties is going to be the normal. So to do that, hold the Alt key on your keyboard, hold Alt and then click on normal. Okay, great. So now when you look at your brush, you should see this normal map color that we all know, this purple color. Then you can bring down the brush size. I'm gonna go to my stroke opacity and bring down the stroke opacity to maybe around 40. There you go. Okay, and let's go ahead and just start painting this out. So you can see when I'm starting to paint this out, it's getting rid of that black area, which is very important. And another thing that you could do is you could go over here to the drop down arrow, and on the single channel area, you could click on normal, and that will allow you to also see what you're painting, right? So I'm painting out the dark purples here that's causing that black part on my character that make him look like his prince. And yeah, just gonna go ahead and get rid of that. Oh boy. Okay. There you go. And it's gonna bring out my brush size and just gonna make it blend in a little bit. Go. And also here, just gonna get rid of that area. And you can see it's doing it on both sides. Now we could press M on our keyboard to go back. And you can see that there's no longer some weird black makeup. It looks like makeup going on there, which is very nice. It looks a lot better like this. Now let's go ahead and export this out, our new normal map, to see how it looks like. So to export, just go to File, Export Textures, and I only need to export out my material that I have for the changes that I have made. So I'm gonna just uncheck this, and I have it for the head and arms, and I'm gonna go ahead and click on it. All right, click on this, and then I only want to export out the normal, so basically this right here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and uncheck everything by clicking over here and uncheck all, and then just click on the normal. So it's only gonna export out the normal map because that's the only thing that right now that I have updated, and I want to see how it looks like. And you could also go to the list of export. You see this is the only thing that's going to be exported out when you click on export. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that export and just wait for a bit. So that will just make things go faster, so it doesn't have to export everything out. Okay, great. Everything exported out. And what I also like to do is I like to double check my file. So this is my head arms normal map. I right click on it, go to properties, and it says modified December 4th, so that's today basically, and it has been updated. So now I can go back to my Blender, and I should not see that anymore, the eye makeup. Okay, so if I go ahead and render this out, see how it looks like. Okay, yeah, I do not see it anymore, and this is looking a whole lot better compared to what we had previously. Okay, and maybe I can go back to my Substance Painter and paint it a bit more. So I'm gonna set my stroke opacity this time to 80. All right, and I'm on my paint again, and I'm just gonna go ahead and paint this out. All right, great. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, I'm gonna go paint. I'm gonna go ahead and export this out again. I'm gonna go export textures. So just the normal map and export. Wait for a bit. And back in Blender, render that out. All right, I am definitely feeling this. This is a lot better. No more makeup for him. Okay, great. Another thing that I want to fix is going to be the wetness of the lips. And yeah, just add some overall shininess on the nose and certain areas of the face. And so we have to set these settings to how it was before. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to save this as a different file name. I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm just going to call it Normal Map Fix. So in case I need to go back to this file and fix the normal map again, I could do that. I'm going to go ahead and hit Save. Then I'm going to just open my old file, which is going to be this right here. And back onto, I'm going to go to my texture set right here. Okay, and it's loading. All right, and to create the shininess on certain areas of the face, we have to create a brand new fill layer. And I'm going to go ahead and just call it Shiny. Yeah, I know, pretty cool name, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and go to my roughness area here. Okay, so we only need to have roughness turned on. So hold the Alt key, Alt click on this. So now we only have shininess here. And you can see everything just got shinier. And we could go to our roughness here and adjust our settings. So crank it all the way up, no shininess. If we crank it all the way down, it's super shiny and wet, right? So I'm gonna put it like maybe somewhere like around that area. Just thinking of the shininess of the lips. And yeah, if we go to our shiny layer and then just turn off the eye, turn it on again, you can see the difference. This is without it and this is with it. Now we could go ahead and add a black mask to this. Let's go ahead and right click, add black mask, and then right click, add paint. So we could go ahead and paint the areas, certain areas of the face where we want the shininess to go. And I have, once again, symmetry turned on. I'm gonna bring this down and make sure that your paint is on white to reveal the shininess, and we can go to the areas of the face where we want more shininess. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint this area for the lips, and we could also hold shift, right click and drag, so you could adjust the shadow and the casting of the shadow, adjust the lighting so you could see more of what you're painting. Yeah, something like that's great. And then maybe also on the nose area, I could add some shininess to this, more shininess. Maybe I could bring down the opacity down a bit. And yeah, add some shininess in the nose. And also on the eye area here on the inner corner, because you are going to generally have a little bit more shininess on these areas where here's some tight areas here where you're going to sweat a lot. Right, there you go. So a little bit more shininess there. And maybe some areas where there's a little bit more protrusion, like on the forehead. Add a little shininess here. Maybe on the brow ridge area, on forehead area, a little shininess there. You could always adjust this later on if you need to. Or you could always go back to this. But yeah, I think that's it for the shininess. Maybe a little bit more on the nose. Right here. Okay, cool. Maybe on the bridge of the nose. Alright, so once that's all done, we could go ahead and export out the textures again, just for the texture set that we have modified, of course. So let's go to File, Export Textures, and I'm gonna hide the eyeball, go to Head and Arms, and I have all of these. I'm gonna export it. I'll just export all of these out, make sure I don't miss anything. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and click on Export. After you export everything, go back to Blender and let's go ahead and re-render this out. It should automatically replace everything that you have here. And if that doesn't work, then you probably have to go to each of these and go to the folder and then just relocate them. But I don't need to do that with mine. It automatically replaces what's on there. Okay. And whoa, I don't want to see that. There you go. All right. So go ahead and render this out. I'm going to go ahead and render this out. Oh boy, and the makeup is back. And you know what I did, you guys? I exported out. I should have exported out the normal map for this. So that was my problem. That was the issue. So let me go ahead and render this out. But let me look at the lip area. And yeah, I could definitely see a lot more shininess here. Yeah, I could see it's definitely more wet. Yeah. And we're gonna see more of that effect in Unreal Engine. Okay, cool. I'm good with this part, but then the normal map issue is back. So that is fine. I'm gonna go back. That's why it was important for me to save that file that I made previously with the normal map. And I'm gonna go ahead and save this one, and I'm gonna have to reopen my file where I've saved the normal map modifications. So I'm going to go here and open my normal map fix substance painter file. There it is. And I'm going to go to my head and arms here. And I'm going to go to file. Oh boy, look at that. But it's fine. I think we could still export it because look at it's actually gone. Let's go to file, export textures, and head arms. And make sure you only have normal map, exporting out, and export. Now back to Blender, and I'm gonna go and render this out again. Alright, so everything's all good. No more black part on the bottom of the eyelid and the lower eyelid there. Another thing that I want to fix is going to be the skin. I feel like when I look at this, it just doesn't look as real as I want it. We want to add some more variance, some discoloration in the skin to just make it look a lot more believable. Because due to age and also exposure to the sunlight, a lot of things happen to our skin that gives us a much more variety of colors on it. And we want to portray that here. So I'm going to go back to my head arms texture here. And right now, yeah, I have my shiny material, which is going to be what gives that more shine on the head and nose and lips. And below that is where I'm going to create a brand new layer. So I'm going to click here and then click a brand new fill layer. All right. And for this brand new fill layer, we want to make it like a darker brown because his skin tone is kind of light brown, a little bit more caramel. And we want a darker version of this, much darker version. So with our brand new fill layer, let's go over here and just make it a darker tone of your base color. So maybe Maybe something like, make it desaturated also. Okay, so maybe this color would work. And then we could go ahead and name it Discoloration 1. So this is going to be the dark discoloration color spots that we're going to add on the skin. And then later on, we're going to create another fill layer that's going to give us the light spots on the skin. All right. And then, so after you create a brand new fill layer, we have to go ahead and right click and add a black mask. And then we could go ahead and right click and add a fill layer. And then on that fill layer, on the properties area, we're going to plug in a texture there. So let's go and click on where it says grayscale, and we could go to resources and we could type in clouds to find a cloud texture. And we could use the cloud one. I think this is what's going to give us the most realistic spots on the skin. Clouds 1. You guys could mess around with this if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and do clouds 1. And so we got something like this, and it's a little too large. So on the properties for the clouds one, we could go ahead and mess around with the noise parameters. Let's go to the noise parameters. And the scale, it's at 1. We could go ahead and crank that up, all the way up for me. And then we could also adjust the contrast if we want. We wanted to make it a little slightly darker. And let's go scroll up, and then you're going to find tiling. We could even make it even smaller, the spots, by cranking up the tiling when it's at 10. Alright, and I think maybe this will be good. And then we could go ahead and right click on the clouds here and add a fill layer. And then for that, after we add that, you could see that it just kind of went away. We actually want it to be more, let's set it to all the way to the fill. Let's set it all the way to 0. Okay. So once you set the fill all the way to 0 for here, right, that means you're not going to see the clouds texture anymore, which is exactly what we want. Because now we're going to go ahead and right click and add paint. And then we could go ahead and paint out the areas where we want those dark spots to show using the paint brush. So we go to brush here, and then we could look for the dirt brush. I'd like to use the dirt 3 brush because it gives me like that nice spotty look. And there's also dirt spots right here. Yeah, I think I'm going to be using the dirt spot. You could use a variance of both. You don't have to stick to one. There's also dots right here. I'm going to do the dirt spots. And I'm going to bring the brush size down. And then if you go to stroke opacity, you could also bring this down so you're not painting it at full opacity. And then when we go and start painting, we don't see it, but okay. So I have to paint it all the way at 100 stroke opacity to see it. And then we can go ahead and start painting where we want those spots to show. So I think around the eyes, I'm gonna want like a darker tone around these areas. You could also see it better if you go over here and you go to base color. So you could see what you're painting. You could see what's going on right there, right? And then you could also maybe get around this area. And also I think I wanna add some spots around here, some darker spots, darker tones here. And I think I want to go to my color here and make this a little bit reddish. I'll have that little bit of reddish tone. So I'm going to go and bring this down slightly. See, this is what's cool about this. You could always change the color of this how you want it. You can make it darker, lighter. It's up to you. You could always go back to the thumbnail here and just change the color. So maybe something... yeah. Maybe something like that. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to my paint here. And yeah, just start painting again. And just adding those spots where we need them. And you can see I have my symmetry turned on. I'm going to press M to go back. Okay, and maybe like around this area. Maybe even on the edges of the lips, add some darker tone on the edges of the lips here. And maybe around the area where we have the beard, we could definitely make some areas here darker. Right here. You could also crank up your brush size as needed. But yeah, like around here where we got the beard, definitely add some spots. Also on the face, a few spots here and there. And also here. And also here. You could already see that there's a difference here just by adding some variance of tones. And also on the ear area, there's a little bit here and there. Still a little issue here. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to fix that. I'll fix that later after I do the skin. And yeah, I'm gonna go over here to the chest and the neck and add the darker tones and add some discoloration over here. There. Play around with your brush size. Alright. And I'm gonna go back over here and look at the base color. Alright, cool. And sometimes this allows you to see exactly where you're painting. Right there. Maybe add some more on these areas. And some more in the neck. And the neck area. And on the lips. Like right here. And some darker tones there. And maybe on the nose, I feel like it's missing something. I'm gonna press M. And so maybe on the edges of the nose. And maybe right here underneath nostril area, some darker tones. So if we look what we have so far, right? If we go to our discoloration and turn that off. So this is how it looks like without the discoloration. It looks way too clean. And then we turn this on. Now we got a little something going on. If it's too intense for you, go ahead and go to your thumbnail here and then go over here and then you could adjust this down if it's a little too much, right? But I'm gonna keep it at 100 for now, and then later on after I'm done painting, I could bring it down if I need to. Okay, and I'm gonna go back to paint. And I'm gonna go to his arm area and also add those discoloration. Look how clean this is, and this is just not how it's supposed to be in real life. We gotta have some variance of tones here on the arms also, on the hands. There's a huge difference there. Okay, cool. I think that's it for that. So that's going to be the discoloration for the darker tones. Now we could do the lighter tone. Let's go ahead and do the same thing, except it's going to be a different layer, a brand new layer with a different color. It's going to be a lighter tone. Let's go ahead and create a fill layer. And then let's go ahead and call this one discoloration 2. And for this one, it's going to be a much lighter brown. So I know his regular tone that I had was more like caramel-like color. So this one's going to even be lighter than a caramel. So maybe something like this. Okay, maybe a little bit like that would be great. And maybe desaturate it slightly. Okay, great. And then we could go right-click, add black mask, right-click, add fill, and then we could plug in a cloud texture there. And then we could go ahead and noise parameters and crank it all the way up to make it smaller. And then for the tiling, I'm going to go ahead and set this to 10. And then we want to not have it show for now. So we can right click and add fill. And then for the fill, we have to set it all the way to 1. So we don't see it at all. And then we could go ahead and right click and add paint. Okay, then we could go to one of our brushes here. So maybe this time I'm going to use this Dirt 3 brush. I'm going to bring this down. And oops. My bad. Okay, so on the fill, I'm going to go and set all the way to 0. So yeah, instead of 1 allows you to show the color, right, of the entire fill color. And yeah, 0, you want to not make it show. Okay, so I'm going to, yeah, on the fill here for the discoloration too, make sure it's at 0, okay? And then you go to paint, and then we're going to go use our paintbrush at a color of white to reveal the white spots where we want it to show, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and, oops, I think it's a little too large. I'm going to bring down the brush size. There you go. You don't want the brush size too big because then the spots will be way too large and it's not gonna look realistic. So right now it might look like he has some kind of skin issues, some skin disease, but it's okay. As I mentioned before, you're gonna be able to adjust the strength of this later. So I think just having that blend of tone of darkness and lightness will add realism to the overall paint of this. So I just kind of add it everywhere here, even on the forehead. And once again, we could always go to our base color here, see what we're working with. This makes a huge difference on our character, adding more believability. No skin is perfect. See, this is what separates your skin texture from other artists' skin texture. By just taking time to do something like this will make a huge difference to your skin texture. Okay, take some more time, but it's all gonna be worth it. And also over here, I'm gonna go ahead and add some variance here, variance of tones on the skin. So here, right there, right there. Okay, and I'm gonna go and press M. Okay, cool. And we could add these in a new folder just to organize our stuff. I'm gonna create a brand new folder and I'm gonna call it discoloration. And I wanna bring the discoloration up on that folder and also the discoloration 1 up in that folder. And I'm gonna reorganize this. Discoloration 1 is the bottom and discoloration 2 is at the top. All right, and of course, if it's too much, the strength, which is in this case, I think it is a little too much, we could go to each of these layers and basically adjust our opacity here. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here and maybe set this to 77 and then the lighter tone 75. Okay, and let me show you the difference here. If I go and hide the discoloration folder, this is without the discoloration and this is with the discoloration. You can see the huge difference by adding that discoloration. It gives a lot more of that believable feel to our skin tone, right? Very nice. I definitely prefer this a lot better. Maybe I could add some more darker tones to the forehead. So I'm going to go back, discoloration, paint. And I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more darker tones in here. Go. And yeah, I'm using a different type of texture in this one. Yeah, this one I'm using a different type of brush, which is cool. You could always go back and have a blend of brush available for you. It gives it a little bit more variance. The more you take your time and use different brushes and add some different colors here, the more it's just gonna look much more believable, right? Okay. All right, so without it, with it. Without it, with it. See here. Okay, and I think that the lower lid here might be too much of a dark tone, the lower area of the eyes. So I'm gonna go back to my paint here and set it to black. Just gonna get rid of some of these darker tones. And I'm gonna go back to my dirt brush here. I'm gonna go to this dirt one brush. And yeah, there you go. Gonna paint this area. And I'm gonna go to my base color. Press X. I'm gonna go to my dirt right here. And just gonna bring this down. And yeah, add a little bit more here. A bit more in this area. In this area also. A little bit more spots right there. A bit more spots here. Also on the neck. A bit more spots in here. And I'm kind of not feeling there's a spot here that I don't like. So let me guess where that's coming from. Okay, that's coming from the face paint, and also here, that's coming from the face paint, I believe. Yep, so I'm going to go back to my face paint here and just bring back the black areas here that I need. I'm going to set this dirt one, bring the brush size down. There you go. And I'm going to press X, set it to black. I'm going to set the opacity down. Go. Just gonna blend it in. Okay, so this is a problem right in this area. So I'm gonna press X and make sure I remove that there. There you go. And I'm gonna go back to my discoloration right here, go to paint, and I wanna go ahead and add some discoloration in this area. This is where we have some of that beard, so it makes sense to have more of the darker tone there. Darker tone in the area. All right, and I'm gonna press M. Okay, so turn it off, turn it on. Okay, so I'm gonna go and export this out because we have painted it. So I'm gonna go to, oh yeah, another thing, one last thing is we have to go to our discoloration. And let's go to our thumbnail area, and under roughness, is this a little too shiny? So for the roughness, we need to crank it up so it's not that shiny. So maybe around 0.65 would be good. And also for this, 0.65 for the roughness. There you go. And let me just go ahead and, yeah, let me go and test this out. This is with it. I mean, it's without it. This is with it. Okay. And I'm gonna go and export this out. I'm gonna go File, Export Textures, and this is just gonna be for the head and arms. And I'm gonna go to my head and arms. I don't want to export out the normal map because remember we have a new normal map, so we can just turn that off. And we just need to export everything else. And I'm gonna go and export. So we'll just replace everything that we had in that folder. And I'm gonna go back to Blender. Alright, so back in Blender, and it had automatically updated it when I reopened the file, and you could see the spots there. Very, very nice. So much better than we had previously, right? Impressive. Look at that. Huge difference. And yeah, I'm gonna go and render this out, see what we're working with. Alright, and I'm pretty happy with this. In the next video, we are going to dive into setting up our character in Unreal Engine.